Now, viewers, it's a big Trump versus UK face-off that's brewing. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer slams the US President Donald Trump over his NATO comment. Starmer has come out to say Trump's remarks are insulting and appalling. The UK Prime Minister urges Trump to apologize for his comment. What exactly had Trump said? What are we referring to here? Not sure NATO countries supported the United States. NATO countries not on the front line during war. That's what's been said by Donald Trump. Let's quickly, in fact, listen into what Starmer has said. In fact, at this point of time, responding to those very remarks made by Donald Trump.
Let me start by paying tribute to the 457 of our armed services who lost their lives in Afghanistan. I will never forget their courage, their bravery, and the sacrifice that they made for their country. There are many also who were injured, some with life-changing injuries. And so I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling. And I'm not surprised they've caused such hurt to the loved ones of those who were killed or injured, and in fact, across the country. We have a very close relationship with the US, and that is important for our security, for our defence and our intelligence, and it's very important we maintain that relationship. But it is because of that relationship that we fought alongside the Americans for our values in Afghanistan. And it was in that context that people lost their lives or suffered terrible injuries, fighting for freedom, fighting with our allies for what we believe in.
Rohit Sharma is back with us on the broadcast. Rohit, let's understand one thing. This is Trump who has repeatedly, not once, but repeatedly made statements that implies that NATO has not been there for the United States. In the recent times as well, he's made this comment. But more importantly, he's also come out to say in the past that the United States has always been the backbone of the NATO. But when it comes to the NATO paying back of sorts, that's never been the relation. It's been a one-way street of sorts. How are we looking at these comments, and what exactly are we looking at when Keir Starmer mentions Afghanistan and other such particular instances where the NATO has come in to play a very crucial role in those crisis situations?
Well, the Article 5 of NATO was in vogue right after America was attacked. Now, historically, that's the only time Article 5 was invoked. So, yes, the UK Prime Minister Starmer is obviously going to feel a little insulted for the comments that were made by President Trump. The fact of the matter is that there were a lot of lives lost from the NATO countries, including 457 British military personnel who were killed. So it kind of is obvious that he is not happy with the comments that President Trump has made. President Trump has obviously taken a lot of pot shots at NATO, not now, even in his first term, about NATO not contributing enough, about NATO not doing enough. In fact, this week in Switzerland, we saw him talking about how he believes that NATO would not come to help the U.S., but the U.S. always will. So I think in that same sense, he was trying to basically double down on his messaging about NATO and how he thinks NATO has not helped the U.S. And by making those comments, which is basically saying that, the British troops were not, off the front lines, meaning they were not ones, fighting the battle, or there was a difference in the kind of war and the battle the American soldiers were fighting versus the NATO, and in this case, specifically the British soldiers. I think he was doubling down on his earlier his messaging, I guess, and his rhetoric that NATO is not something the U.S. can count on. And I think this is, again, one of those, diplomatic fires, that gets put on every other day by something or the other. Especially now, we're seeing it more often when it comes to the traditional allies, be it Europe or Canada.
Right, Rohit. Stay with us.